Well, ain't you just the textbook fucking definition of classy? But guess what, Jeeves? That garrote wire won't do shit for dick against armor this thick. What's that, Alfred? How thick is it? Well, half as thick as my dick. So thick enough that you need a fucking anti-tank rifle to pierce it. And I don't even see a piece on your wrinkly old ass.
Police girl, if you may.
Bitches love cannons.
Oh, fuck, that's an anti-tank rifle. Oh, fuck, that's an anti-tank rifle!
The autocannon, in all its beauty. Before we get into the autocannon, let's run down a small history lesson on which I think that was used as a reference for the autocannon. Chambered in 20mm AP shell and being an anti-tank rifle in aesthetic design, the autocannon has many references to real-world counterparts. One that instantly comes to mind is the Finnish Lahti L39 20mm, a gas-operated weapon with a detachable top-mounted magazine with a bottom ejection for the spent cartridges. It was equipped with a 5-hole muzzle brake that has a leather pad recoil. The recoil spring was so stiff that it was impossible to cock the weapon back with a traditional charging handle, using a rotating crank on the right side of the gun. In service between 1939 and 1960s, saw most of its action during World War II against the Soviets during the Winter War of 1939 and 1940, where the 20mm saw most of its success against Soviet armored vehicles. Fast forward to the Constitution War between 1941 and 1944, the Lahti saw little success towards the newer T-34 and KV-1 Soviet tanks. It was still able to take out several weak spots on light armor vehicles and light armor tanks, though it was still proved to be effective against bunker loopholes and aircraft. Soon, a smaller version of the L-39 served as an anti-aircraft gun. Imperial Japan.
The savages kneel before us in defeat.
Another is the Type 97 automatic cannon used by the Imperial Japanese Army between 1935 and 1942. After hearing reports of the Chinese purchases of the Victor tanks, including rising tension with the Soviets, the Imperial Japanese Army wanted an anti-tank rifle of their own. Kokura Arsenal designed a 20 by 125mm anti-tank rifle, building 8 prototypes for the testing at the infantry school. It was rejected, identifying many issues with the weapon. After further testing in 1938, the Type 97 was chosen. It was a gas operated with a delayed blowback in which the barrel and receiver also recoiled to help steady the weapon. Reports did say it can, in quotation marks, be fired in full automatic mode. The weapon was semi-automatic only as it lacked a selector. 7-round box magazine that was mounted above the receiver. It fired AP rounds and high explosive shells. Anti-tank platoons were equipped with the Type 97 in 1939. The gun was reported to disable a number of light armor vehicles used by the Soviets. By the time it was deployed in China, the weapon was mostly used as infantry support weapons. But when the US entered the South Pacific War, the Type 97 was no longer effective against US tanks. The weapon was then developed for anti-aircraft. The autocannon is one of those weapons that I go back to remind myself why I enjoy using it. There's a lot of historical reference when it comes to the aesthetic design, the 20mm shells that it uses, and the flak rounds. But now, let's get into the nitty gritty on why the autocannon is a cool weapon. Autocannon has 2 modes, flak and armor piercing. Flak is for clearing out chaff units, and since shrapnel has gotten a huge buff, flak has become more useful with a bigger radius and buffed damage of flak, clearing light to medium units and some heavy units. Armor piercings for armored units and can deal pretty high single target damage as well. Nothing really changed about armor piercing if I'm being honest. You can also switch between auto or semi-auto. Normally, I use auto since I can just tap fire, and when I do need a full auto, I can hold down the mouse button. I'd say it's one of the better weapons against the Illuminate. You can 2-tap the Overseers with flak rounds. Most of the time it's a 2-tap, sometimes a 3-tap depending how far you are, but that's like an RNG thing. Most of the time you will be 2-tapping the Overseers with flak rounds. For Meat Bob, you want to use flak rounds because the flak rounds do have the ability to 4-shot them. Sometimes it's a 5-shot depending on the RNG, but most of the time it will be a 4-shot consistently with the flak rounds. Flak rounds are that strong against Meat Bob. I highly recommend using flak rounds against them. For Harvester, it's a little tricky because you are going to be using AP rounds, and AP rounds against the Harvester has him staggered, and he will stagger around a lot, making you miss that inner leg joint that you want to shoot between his leg and his big circle body. But most of the time, you're going to have to deal with a lot of the chaff that are around him. He has a lot of voteless, and the voteless are now sprinters, so they're going to be sprinting at you. The overseers, the jump pack overseers, and meat bob. But once you deal with them, you can kind of focus this on the harvester's leg joints. It takes around like 6 or 7 shots. It really just depends. And as I'm on, the Stingray takes around 2 shots with the flak rounds and 2 shots with the AP rounds as well. Stingray's a pretty easy guy to take out with the autocannon. The autocannon is pretty good all around with this faction. I'd say it's like around like a bottom S tier to top A tier. The reason why I say it's the bottom of S tier, top of A tier is mainly because that stationary reload. Yes, I do understand for this weapon, the stationary reload does make sense. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's a negative when it face a faction like this where there's overseers, you also have sprinting voteless, you have meat bob sprinting at you, and then on top of all that, look at this clip. I'm basically bullying this harvester trying to hit that leg joint, making me have to micro readjust my aim so my aim can match the true reticle's aim as well. So there's a lot of micromanagement you have to do for the autocannon to make it work against this faction, because it is a strong weapon against this faction, but it also has some negative downsides that are very much blatant once you use it. And then when you have so much pressure like the jump pack overseers, you have the sprinting voteless, you have this harvester right next to me, you're pretty much going to be in a fuck situation. And then including that, you have to do the reload tech, because if you do not do the reload tech at all, you will just have a longer reload than normal. I should have done the reload tech in this clip, but I showed you guys this clip just to make sure that this is the negative of the autocannon against this faction, because mainly you do have to sit there and reload while stuff is coming at you. Also, did not forget, the autocannon can destroy the dropships, break the shield with the normal rounds or flak rounds, whatever. Flak rounds and the normal rounds can basically blow up the dropship once you shoot inside the door. The autocannon can destroy Terminid structures, so it can destroy the Shrieker Nest, the Spore Tower, bug holes, but not Titan holes. Also, the autocannon still has the same negatives that are in the Illuminate that I just stated. It applies to the Terminids as well, that where the Terminids you have to do the reload tech, because if you do not, you have a lot of pressure on you, have a lot of enemies going towards you. This autocannon sort of pairs well with the cookout against this faction too. So if you're using the autocannon, I highly recommend using the cookout, because it just, these two have good synergy. You have the cookout to push back, so you can have some sort of room to reload. On top of that, this guy does one-shot the stalkers and predator stalkers. You can aim for their face with the shrapnel, and all the shrapnel will spread out and do a ton of damage towards them. Same thing as alpha commanders and anything below an alpha commander as well, just like hive guards too. Also, this weapon is okay against Biotitans and okay against Behemoth. It's like a 8 to 10 shots for Biotitan heads and Behemoth heads as well. But for the Behemoth and Spore Charger, what you want to do is use the shrapnel, go towards the thorax once they're behind you. I would say use like a stun, or if you have a sentry, make them go towards the sentry and just start hammering down the flak rounds against that thorax. And it's an easier time because he will bleed out eventually, so you can just have to dodge him. But a real good positive for the AP rounds against the Behemoth is that he will get staggered and he will full stop, because at that point you at least have some breathing room you can create when you are stopping him from trying to charge at you. The autocannon is pretty good against this faction. There is better choices, I'm not going to lie, but the autocannon does have that all-arounder that a lot of people like about it, and that all-arounder you can definitely feel when using the autocannon against the Terminid faction. I'm slowly learning to tell you guys, can you please like and give it a thumbs up on the video if you're enjoying it so far, and can you please subscribe, and also tell me what you guys like or dislike about the autocannon. Do you guys hate the autocannon? Do you guys think the autocannon is cool? Do you like the autocannon? Do you think the autocannon is cringe? Do you think the autocannon needs a buff or debuff or a nerf? Tell me what is your thoughts about the autocannon. Also, tell me what is your favorite gun against the Terminid faction. I would like to know. Please enjoy the rest of the video. For the Automaton faction, the autocannon can 2-tap the Hawk's Eye, and then including that, you can take down whatever inside the dropship by switching to flak rounds and shooting under the dropship, which the flak shrapnel will spread and take out all the enemies that is about to drop from the dropship itself. I do that a lot of times when I'm using the autocannon, because that is one of the autocannon strong suits with the flak rounds, is it can easily clean up the chaff when it comes to light troopers and the medium troopers such as heavy devastators or even the rocket striders as well. For the gunships, for armor piercing rounds, it's an easy 2-tap towards the thrusters, and for the flak rounds, it's around a 3 to 4 tap. Sometimes you will miss the last flak round or the middle flak round. For the Factory Strider Underbelly, it's around 10 to 12 shots. Now, the reason why I say it's around 10 to 12 shots is because sometimes the heavy devastators were about to come out and your shots will just be soaked up by them instead of the belly. But on average, I would say the Factory Strider should take around like 11, maybe 12, probably 10 shots for the underbelly as well. To take out the chain guns and then just go right under. It's kind of easy to do. You will feel really rewarded doing it. I recommend doing so because it's super fun. And yes, the autocannon can destroy fabricators and bulk fabricators to shoot the vent. Sometimes it does ricochet or has an angle deflect. All you gotta do is readjust your aim or to shoot the other vent hole and the fabricator will destroy and the bulk fabricator as well. Overall, I would have to give the autocannon against the bot faction an S tier, because it is a good weapon against that faction. It can destroy the fabricators, the bulk fabricators, can take out Hawks within 2 shots. The only enemy that you will have a rough time with will be the Factory Strider, but every other enemy is fair game to the autocannon, and it does pretty well against these enemies too. For the tanks, for the ventilators of the tanks, you could shoot the ventilators around 3 to 4 times and the tank will blow up, so it is sort of an anti-tank weapon in that aspect too. It's just overall a good weapon against this faction. I don't see really any negatives using the autocannon against this faction. Yeah, it has the stationary reload, but the automatons allow you to have that stationary reload because they're mostly trying to range you out and suppressive fire you. Really not trying to rush you besides the Berserkers and Jet Brigade and also the Scorcher or the Flame Hawks as well. Other than that, you are basically free reign to use this autocannon and use it against the faction at a good level as well. And of course, for the stat divers, here are the weapon statistics for the autocannon. I did not forget the autocannon against the War Strider. I just don't have any footage of me using the autocannon against him. I would say just use thermites or the ultimatum, like I said in my railgun video. I do know the autocannon can 5-shot the inner leg joint of the War Strider, but at that point, since that target's so small and you're going to end up just staggering him most of the time, save yourself the headache and save yourself from ragdolling so much. Just use a thermite or use an ultimatum. Like I said, I don't play against the War Striders as often. I play a lot of Geological Survey. Geological Survey has a guaranteed no War Strider seed, so if you don't want to face War Striders, go towards that seed. Overall, I think the autocannon is one of the most balanced weapons in the game. It's a fair weapon. It's not overtuned and it's not underpowered. It does well against all 3 factions since it's a jack of all trades. It's a master of none. You can close bug holes. You can take down heavies within a reasonable time frame. You can clear out the chaff, clear out medium enemies. You can do a lot with the autocannon. You can also take down objectives like fabricators, Shrieker Nest, Spore Towers, the terminal. You can do a lot of things with the autocannon, and including that, I just really like the design of the autocannon when it comes to the weapon aesthetic and the weapon design. Obviously, this gun took inspiration off of early anti-tank rifles from World War II. Sadly, a lot of those anti-tank rifles are now decommissioned because tank armor and any other heavy vehicle armor just has better armor than it did back in the past. So a lot of the anti-tank rifles just became obsolete. Some anti-tank rifles are still used against stuff like the Toyota Helix, light armor vehicles. But when it comes like the heavier armor, anti-tank rifles are just not used. Which is funny to see that the autocannon somehow made its way back into the future. An anti-tank rifle made its way back into the future, into like the main weapon of the Helldivers and sometimes the Sea Soldiers as well. Overall, I would give the autocannon a solid like A overall. It would be an S, but that would just be my bias being the way because I really like the design of the gun and I really like the feeling of the gun. But if I'm going to be really honest with you, it's like an A tier gun. Like, it's really good. I like the weapon. I like the design of it, like I just said. I just like a lot of the historical backing this weapon has and a lot of the influences this weapon has. Is just obviously a lot of the early anti-tank rifles that were in World War II and somewhat of World War I. Hope you guys liked this video. I'm out. Have a good day. Peace.